Hi there, John Page, Membership and Marketing Manager for the Amherst Area Chamber of Commerce, hosting this week's Fireside Chat with Sharon Sherry, Director of the library, the Jones Library System. So some might ask, what's the link between the local library and the Chamber of Commerce? But there are so many ways our mission overlap, and we're so proud to have the Jones Library System as part of our chamber. From promoting your offerings to assisting with fundraising by the Friends of the Jones, we view your work as contributing to a stronger Amherst area. At the Chamber, we like to use the phrase building business, building community to express that interconnectedness. We see the Jones, Munson, the North Amherst Library, and all their services as true assets to the Amherst area. So with that, I will turn it over to our very special guest today, Sharon Sherry, to share a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. John, thank you so much for having me in the chamber. My name is Sharon Sherry. I'm so lucky to be the director of the Jones Library System here in Amherst. I have been here for almost 9.5 years, and I'm excited to have a chance to talk with you about the library and how businesses and the library kind of intersect.
That's fantastic. Well, we thought we'd start off with a couple of questions here. And given that we just wrapped up 2020 and we are still amid this pandemic, we wanted to, during these fireside chats, have an honest discussion about, what that takes and those changes that are happening. So my first question for you is, what pivots did the Jones Library System make during COVID, and how have those actually even reinforced or underscored the importance of library services for the community?
It's a great question. And COVID has certainly amplified or brought to light the need for an expansion renovation project at the Jones building, specifically our HVAC system. It's at the end of its life. It's time to put it to bed now. It just doesn't provide an adequate air exchange rate. And the building itself, it was built intentionally to look like a house, and with all its tiny, beautiful, sweet rooms. Unfortunately, during a pandemic, small is not good. And we don't have any flexibility in this building. And so for all of these reasons, during COVID, we've been providing as many services as possible outside the building. These definitely don't take the place of in-building services, but for staff and patron safety, it's just been best to keep the building closed to the public. Things that our staff have done, our staff have been so creative, and that's true of so many professions, during this past year. But our library staff, they just, number one, they miss their patrons desperately. And so the things that they have created that I've seen has just astounded me. So I'm going to go through. I have a list, and I did it kind of by subject heading because I'm a librarian and that's what I do. So for adults, really since the beginning, we've been doing outdoor holds pickup. So and slowly over time we started doing it at the Munson branch, and now we're doing it at the North Amherst Library branch. So patrons can call us, they can email us, they can place holds through Evergreen, and we will get it, and we will email you or call you and let you know that it's here, and you can come and pick it up. More recently, our staff have created this Book of the Month Club, which this is one of those things that I hope sticks. Because how cool would it be to just, be sitting at home and then all of a sudden you get a message that your books are ready and you don't know what books they are. So you let our librarians know what kind of topics, genres you like. And every month you're going to get 2 pre-selected books by our staff. And then over time, as month to month goes, you let the staff know what you love, what you don't love, and we'll keep giving you new books. So it's just kind of fun. The only thing that would make it better is if it included chocolate. That's what I think.
Mm.
We also have, so because patrons can't come into the building, the browsing, patrons can't do that right now. So what we've done is every day a cart is put outside with the hot items of the day, and so the really popular items, and patrons can just walk up, browse, grab what they want. They leave a piece of paper, a note saying, Sharon Sherry checked out this book. They drop that note in the box, and then they get to take it home, and we later input that into their library record. So that's the browsing solution that staff have come up with. We also will do now delivery. We've basically expanded our homebound delivery program. So before, there needed to be a reason why you were, stuck at home. Now, if you don't want to come out of your house for whatever reason, you just don't feel like brushing your hair that day, you can call us and we will bring your items to you. As far as reference services goes, for many months now, our librarians have been answering the phone live, just like if you were to call the reference desk in the before times. So you can still get help from a live reference librarian. We now do print on demand for free. So you can reach out to one of our reference librarians, and up to 10 pages per day, we'll print it off for you and we'll leave it outside for you to come and pick it up. The outdoor computer tent. So we were able to do that for a little while last fall, but then it just got too cold. But we will open that back up in the spring, where we have between 8 and 10 laptops that will be out on tables out in the front lawn, and people can come and use those. Again, weather permitting. So the children's room staff. So right from the beginning, March 16th, the library closed, and I think it took like a week for all staff to kind of go, what's going on? But then our children's room staff really got right on it, and they have a huge online presence, and they have throughout this time, doing, which is great for families if you're at home and you've got 3 little ones or whatever. And so they'll give you art prompts. They've done these really sweet story times where you can actually call a phone number and you just have somebody, it's one of the children's librarians who reads you a story. It is the best thing since sliced bread. More recently, they've started leaving take and make art kits. We leave them outside near the Holds pickup. So, it's a craft project in a bag. For all ages, come, grab a bag and go home, and play with your family. For the teens, so the teens have also been very active on social media, and it's been interesting because of the Zoom atmosphere. Our librarians are able to collaborate with other teen librarians in the area. So a lot of the programs now open to teens are open to teens, wherever you're from. So we've got several different libraries advertising for the same programs. Dungeons and Dragons has been the number one popular online activity for the teens. So that's our teen librarian has had a blast with that. And then there's our ESL program, which continues to go strong. All of the conversation circles and the one-on-one tutoring has translated over to this online world. They're doing it via Zoom. And, there are pros and cons to this. On the one hand, now we literally have worldwide participation. So there are many students who were here a year ago, but since have gone back to their home countries, but they're able to still participate through Zoom. So that has been spectacular. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we don't have new students coming from around the world. So the program isn't getting bigger the way it usually does. But we know this pandemic is going to go away soon. So that will change. So those are the highlights. Those are the things that the staff have been amazing. And I just want to tell the community that the staff miss you. And if you have any questions or need anything at all, give us a call.
See, this is why I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because I just learned several new things that I didn't know. So that's wonderful. And I think it really reflects what we've been hearing a lot, which is that staff have stepped up to the plate. People have innovated. People are collaborating in new ways. There are many, many challenges, but there are a few ways that things have improved through these new tools. So that is fantastic. And hopefully we'll get back to some sense of normalcy soon and back to all the great programming that you offer. And so speaking of books, we are talking about the library. Um, I've been reading Palaces of the People by Eric Kleinenberg, which it's very interesting. So it talks about the economic, social justice, and even touches on public health role of what they call public infrastructure or third places like libraries, these public spaces. And you definitely touched on this. In normal times, even just the physical library building, it's a safe and quiet space for teens, for seniors, for families, especially with young kids. Um, and it's a place that people gather in general, learn, even just hang out. Um, I know the chamber, we had workshops there quite often, and ESL you mentioned. So could you just describe, from your perspective, the role, or more likely, many roles that the library plays in the whole Amherst ecosystem?
This is a really great, multifaceted, powerful question. So it's really easy to take a public library for granted when you're privileged. So if you have means, if you have health insurance, if you have a job, if you have a home, if you have food in your cupboards, if you have access to a computer and the internet, if you have a car, access to transportation, if you have a safe place to go after school, if you can speak English, if you are able bodied, and if you can afford to take a family of 4 to an art museum, then it's possible that the public library is not at the top of your list in terms of being an essential municipal service. But if you can't tick off all those boxes, or even most of those boxes, then the Jones Library is there to fill the voids with, and this is what's so powerful, no questions asked, entirely for free. Just equally for all. Libraries are essential, and they are the most democratic institution in any town, and they're the great equalizer. And again, even I have fallen into the trap of thinking, oh yeah, the public library just isn't as important as maybe some of the other municipal services, but it just isn't true. So for all of these reasons, it's important for those of us with means, like myself, to fund library services in any town that you're in. And library services, interestingly, are very much driven by the building, which seems silly, but really you need an adequate building in order to help those who do not have. And so that's me on my soapbox.
That's such a powerful answer. Thank you for that. I'm sure you could talk much more about that, but that is a great summary of why it's so important. And you touched on, which is a really great transition, the physical building, and how the space really dictates services in many ways, and can be a limiting factor. But I just want to put a fine point on it, as the chamber about economic development, our mission, we really view the renovation project in the context of the Destination Amherst plan that the bid, and you're on the bid board, I believe, and so the bid and the chamber have been working with the town manager here in Amherst on activating our downtown and public spaces in a new way. I mean, people already enjoy it very much so, but activating it in a new way, taking it to the next level. And that means the North Common, that means the playground at Kendrick Park. That means activating the arts through some sort of outdoor performing arts venue. And it also means things like dealing with parking in various ways. But like the Emily Dickinson Museum, the Eric Carle, our higher ed institutions, the Jones Library itself is one of these economic anchors and draws. We really view it that way. I mean, part of my role is working with on regional tourism, and the Jones always comes up as one of those points of interest. So my question for you is, could you articulate how you see the Jones as an economic driver and anchor for Amherst?
Absolutely. And I'm thrilled that you asked this question because it's easy to overlook. So certainly the Jones, but I believe that all public libraries are economic drivers in their towns. But specifically with the Jones, because we are placed so beautifully right smack dab in the middle of downtown Amherst, that it makes it even more true for us. So when patrons come to the Jones, the fact is that they are putting money in the meter. Eventually, they're going to park in the parking garage as part of Destination Amherst. They're going to grab a coffee over at Amherst Coffee. They're going to do their thing at the library. They're going to hang out, do story time, that kind of a thing. But then once they leave the library, they're going to go and have lunch. They're going to go buy gas. They're going to shop at the retail shops. We are the 20th busiest public library in the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
The numbers are huge. Yes, we're in Western Mass, but we're very unique. And so the resulting economic contribution is really quite significant. So if on average, play this little game with me, every library patron were to spend $5 when they came to town, and that's just it's an average. The result would be over $1.1 million that has been pumped into the Amherst economy over a year. And once we expand, and I'll get a chance to walk you through the schematics in a minute, once we get bigger, if you build it, they will come. Circulation increases, usage increases, because people who couldn't or didn't want to come to the library before, they will be coming. And so because of that, even more dollars are going to be brought to the center of Amherst. Thank you for asking.
Of course. I always have that question on my mind, and I'm so glad we can really promote that today. So speaking of the renovation project, I'd like to learn a little bit more about it. I know you have done so much outreach, but I think you have some slides to share with us.
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk about this for days and days and days, and thankfully you've put a time limit on me. So here I am. I want to take this time to give your viewers a virtual tour of the proposed expanded and renovated Jones Library. This project has been in the making for at least 10 years. And here's the beginning timeline. So 10 years ago, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners took a tour of the Jones and called us the most dysfunctional public library in the state. We were next to Woburn, so that's the other public library, but they have since renovated. So now we are number one. We went through space planning exercises. We maximized the use of our existing space. We planned with the Historic Society. We've been in talks with them for a very long time because they're our really fabulous next door neighbor. So we've talked to them about how best to store our collections and to provide continuous green space. I mean, we do have beautiful green spaces right smack dab in the middle of downtown. Town meeting approved $25,000 towards our MBLC planning and design grant. We collaborated with the town with the intent. So the plan is for the refurbished, the town Civil War tablets to be displayed here at the library. This will be their new home. We wrote a building program, and the first program that we wrote, the square footage totaled over 110,000 square feet. It was later reduced during exercises to 68,000 square feet. And we hired an OPM and an architect. And as time went on, we held dozens and dozens of public presentations and listening sessions to residents and boards and committees. Town meeting approved our $35.6 million construction grant application. We notified the Massachusetts Historic Commission about our project. We do have to work with them because we are an historic building. We were awarded a $13.9 million grant from the MBLC, and we were placed ninth on the wait list. And so that's why we have had more time to work on our schematics. We recently applied for a $1 million CPA grant from the town and received it for the refurbishment of special collections, because that will happen in the 1928 historic portion of our building. And we have also been updating our schematics, which I'm going to show you today, to include several sustainability measures. So I'll walk you through the schematics, which were created. Our architects are Feingold Alexander Architects out of Boston. And I would have to say they are the premier historic preservationists in the country. We have been very lucky to be able to work with them. A little bit of their resume. Their resume is enormous. They've worked on the State House, Boston University, Harvard, as well as several public library projects. So here's a couple of slides of the Holyoke Public Library. I do recommend that you go and check that out, as well as the Westwood Public Library. So starting with, this is the view now. This is what the Jones looks like right now. So no part, actually, I'll move on to the next one. So here's a rendering once the building has been expanded. So this tree that's right here, so it does go down to the ground, you know, the pine needles. So really from the road, you're not going to be able to see this expansion, but we cut off the pine needles so that you could actually see what it would look like. You'll notice that no part of the addition is taller than, it doesn't go higher than the existing 1928 portion of the building. Also, regarding the addition, there are all sorts of rules and regulations about adding on to historic structures. The addition will complement the original. You know, we're definitely going to go for the masonry look, but we're not allowed to duplicate the original. So you'll see we're going with the gambrel look, but with these windows here, it kind of minimizes the look of the addition. You can also see here this sawtooth roof, it's called. So on one side, you've got the solar panels of the photovoltaics, and on the other side are windows, so it will let the natural light in. So this is what the existing back of the building looks like. Right now, this property actually belongs to the Strong House, and if you're familiar with the rear garden right now, there is no visibility. There's a lot of nooks and crannies that people tend to hide in. It's not a very inviting space. There's also no real continuity between the Strong House property and the library's property. There's also no relationship between the libraries outside and the libraries inside. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So this is a rendering of what it could look like. So the new backyard, it will be beautiful, safe, you know, really important, easy to maintain. It will be flexible. Programs will be able to happen out here. And it will be continuous. The properties, the green spaces all around the library and the Strong House will have a continuity, a beautiful flow to it. There's also this walkway here. It'll be a beautiful, inviting walkway from the CVS lot or the future parking garage. Also, because of the windows, now this isn't a wall of glass the way the Holyoke Library is built. We're going to stick with a lot of masonry, but for sustainability purposes, we do need a certain amount of glass for the natural light to come in. But the seating, as I'll show you from the inside, the seating is going to be throughout the perimeter of the entire library. So all of these windows are going to have beautiful, you know, seats to just sit, hang out, read, and overlook the gardens. So quickly, the site plan. This is Amity Street. And what we're looking at here is the original 1928 L. It's 28,000 square feet. That's not going to change. We are historically preserving that. And working with Mass Historic, we'll be applying for historic tax credits to help towards the preservation of these spaces. This is the new addition here, along with this little bump out right here. So that totals 35,000 square feet. The green spaces, again, as I've said before, will be preserved all the way around the building. Let's see, there will be walkways. This is pretty cool. So right now, the driveway that's on the side of the library right now, it's a driveway, it's a parking lot, and it's a sidewalk. It's extremely unsafe. So what's going to happen is whatever parking is left here will be made handicapped parking only. But there's also going to be a sidewalk here so that people can walk, because that's just what happens. People are in downtown Amherst and they're walking to the parking garage or CVS lot. So there will be a path for that. There will also be a path on this side. And what's important to note that you can't see from this bird's eye view, but there is a very large there's a steep grade here. So right now, this path that the library uses is not handicapped accessible, but it will be. There will be stairs and a ramp that's properly graded, all up to code. So all of the walkways around the library will be handicapped accessible. Oh, there's this other thing too. See this cool little semicircle? We are going to have this opportunity to make the front door handicapped accessible. So right now, if you're in a wheelchair or if you've got a stroller or if you're on crutches, you have to go through the side door. That's just not right. So interestingly, so we're planning this again, there's a little bit of a grade. So we've got the semicircular front sidewalk happening. This is really interesting. That is what the original architects had planned. This is a model going back to 1928. It's a picture of a model. So they had actually planned for this semicircle. Kind of fun. Okay. Inside the building. So this is I'm going to start on the ground level, the garden level, and move up. So as far as the garden level goes, you would come in through the back, or you would come up down through the stairs. So you can't read the little words that are here, but it's all color coded. And so I'll just walk you through it. So when you walk in through this vestibule, you've got in this dark blue is the large meeting room, which will hold 200 people, post-pandemic people. But certainly there will be enough storage for the chairs, so we could have only 25 people in it if we needed to. There's going to be a kitchen and a coat room and bathrooms for people to use. And this will be usable when the library is not open. So that's really cool. Over here is the Esl Department. With enough tutor rooms and a couple classrooms. We're actually inviting to share a space with the Literacy Project. They're looking for a new home, and we already have such a great synergy. We already work with the Literacy Project, so it just makes sense for these services to combine our ESL department with the Literacy Project. Over here is the technical services. It's a staff function. It's where we process the books. And in yellow, so this is all our special collections department. It's going to be where all of the unique, irreplaceable storage items will be stored in properly climate-controlled spaces, and a beautiful reading room for people to do their research. And in the front of the building, so this is really up again, it's underground. There's no windows here. And so these are all our mechanicals. It's important to note that throughout this building, one of our problems right now is if you walk into the building, it is impossible to figure out where you want to go, or even if you do know where you want to go, how to get there. Once we expand and renovate, there's a set of stairs and an elevator that goes up through all the floors. So it's always right smack dab in the middle of the building. It's never a question as to where to go. So up onto the first floor, again, you'll either be coming in through the front door here off of Amity Street, or you'll be coming up the stairs or the elevator. So again, color coded. Here's the children's department. Our children's program is so active, and I don't know how that department does what it does in the space that they've got. I think we're doubling in size, and it's all on one floor. There's going to be plenty of computers, which we don't have right now. Let's see. The children's are, yeah. Oh, so all the collections are going to be on the same floor. Oh, and a children's room bathroom also. Oh, that's another thing to point out. Every floor in the library will have a bathroom. So you're not just going to have to go down into the basement, which I think is really fabulous. So there's a children's room and, its own circulation desk, plenty of space to store strollers, which is really important. There is going to be a children's activities room in there. So that's where the story times and the craft projects will happen. I want to go back quickly to the front door. So we have this beautiful historic staircase that is there. This is what it looked like back in 1928, and it pretty much looks like that now. That is going to stay put. That's going to stay exactly where it is. All of this here in this kind of, I don't know, pinky color, this is all the adult circulation. So the circulation desk is right here. It's the first thing you see when you walk into the building. So there's no question. If you need a human being, that's where they're going to be. In this portion of the library, this is where the automated materials handling system is going to go. So here's where we introduce a huge piece of machinery. And the reason is because usage is going to increase. And what we want to do, and what libraries across the state of Massachusetts are doing, are large enough libraries are installing these machines. It does the work for us so that the staff can be focused on the patrons. The machine is there to check the books in. There's no reason why a staff member needs to stand there with their head, scanning library books as patrons are coming by. So that's how we're going to help with the staff workload. Hang on, lost where I was going. Okay, AV is back here. Also in this purple, this is the adult nonfiction collection. And again, lots of perimeter seating overlooking that rear garden. And in the orange here, so this is pretty exciting. This is our teen room. So I know that some people say that teenagers should just act like adults, make them be in the adult spaces because it's time for them to, be mature. Well, I couldn't disagree more. I think teenagers need to be teenagers, and here is the space. And I want to show you a picture of. So this here is the auditorium that was in the Jones Library originally, because it's a 267-seat theater with a stage. So this is what was originally the founder's vision, that libraries are about community. They're not just about books. So what I want you to see here is, here's this barrel vaulted ceiling. That's all still there. And this is the room. The stage is no longer there, but this is the room that the teens are going to be in. So they are going to have this double high, gorgeous space, but it's going to be for teens. It's going to have appropriate seating and computers and collections for teenagers. There's going to be glass wherever we can put glass so we can see what they're doing. We do have a teen librarian, so it will be staffed. But there's also going to be a door here so that they can be noisy if they want, because that's what teenagers need to do. And teenagers need a space in this town, a safe space. And with our programming that goes on, we're able to give them snacks for after school, because a lot of teens they go home to bare cupboards. And so here's an opportunity for them to come and be themselves, do work, maybe read a book every now and then. Anyway, so that's a really exciting piece of this project. So now I'm going to bring you up to the second floor. As you walk up the stairs or come up the elevator, you're instantly going to be met with, this is the reception desk, and this is administration. This is where I'll be in the business manager. Bathrooms, more adult nonfiction, reference will be here, computers will be here, adult fiction. The benefit of this, so again, here, this L, this is the original portion of the building. And this purple here is the new addition. I want to highlight what's going to go on in this 1928 portion, primarily in the front here. So right now, these spaces are for the staff. This is where our tech services department is. This picture goes back to 1928. It doesn't look like this anymore. Right now, it's got lots of supplies and book carts in it. But my point is all of this beautiful woodwork and wooden floors, all of that is still there. These bookcases are still there. We're going to bring that back to life, and we are going to make these spaces beautiful reading rooms. Envision magazines and newspapers and reading chairs and tables and literally the quiet spaces. That's where that's what's going to be going on here. So you can either come up these stairs or this elevator, or you can come up the main historic staircase if you want and just hang out in these spaces. And that's what's going to be going on there. And then the top floor, which is actually where I am now. I'm in the Goodwin room, which is the boardroom. That's this space. And that's going to remain the boardroom. The only difference is the room that I'm in now is full of special collection. It's full of the fine arts collection, actually. It's worth a lot of money, which is why this room needs to be, we can't rent it out. We can't let the public use it without the staff being here as well. This room is used quite heavily pre-pandemic, almost 300 times a year, because we have so many trustee board meetings, friends meetings. We also have book groups that go on here. Things like that. And then also the staff lounge is going to be moved up here. And the beautiful thing about the staff lounge, I know that no patron should have to care about this, but right now, no portion of the 1928 building is handicapped accessible. And it just so happens that the staff area, the staff kitchen, and the staff bathrooms are in the 1928 portion of the building. They're not handicapped accessible. So so what does that mean? It means that people who get hurt, I sprained my ankle a couple of years ago. It means you eat lunch in your office because you can't get to the staff lounge right now. But that's not going to happen anymore. So yes, I'm very excited about that. One other thing that you can see on this page is the roof. So here's the sawtooth roof that I was talking about. Here are the solar panels, and here are the windows. Let's see. Okay, finishing up. This is what our adult collection looks like now. It's in the basement. It's dark. There's no natural light, and there are no staff sight lines. That's probably the number one problem with this building, other than the handicapped accessibility. So this is the number two problem. It's not a safe portion of this building. And so in the future, our adult collection is going to be this wide open studio space with lots of beautiful bright light. And here are the stairs coming up through the center of the building. And I love to show this off. So this is the original 1928 roof and window that people will be able to look down into the teen space. Okay, so now this is another big piece of this puzzle, and this happened within the past, let's say, 2 years. The trustees appointed a sustainability committee for the library project, and they were able to grab 4 experts in their field. And their goal was to create for the trustees a set of goals that will help make our building, our future building, be as net zero ready or net zero as sustainable as possible. And so here were the goals put together by the committee: to reduce the Jones Library's energy use intensity, to use renewable energy sources as opposed to the natural gas that we're using now, eliminating the fossil fuels, to use low embodied carbon materials. I'll talk more about that in a minute, and to lower the building's carbon emissions. So right now, the building's EUI, energy use intensity, is 73.2. And that is And that's the KBTU, per square foot per year. And I don't remember what the KBTU stands for. I'm sorry. But it's 73. And that's the going rate for public libraries across the country. But once we expand and renovate and implement these energy conservation measures, it's going to bring our EUI down to 29.12. That is enormous. So my point is this expanded and renovated building is going to be net zero energy ready, because we're not quite net zero yet. And that's only because we don't have enough space on the building or on the property to install enough photovoltaics, and we can't do ground source heat pumps. So instead, what we do is we will be able to purchase off-site renewable energy. And that's what's going to make us a net zero building. Yay! We will be eliminating the fossil fuels. So we will also be using, instead of steel, which is this purple on this graph, this is the emissions, the global warming potential of steel. And here's the timber. So that's why we're going to be using this cross-laminated timber throughout the building, not on the ground level because it can't handle the weight, but in all of the upper floors. So this is just like the John Olver design building at UMass, or the R.W. Kern Center at Hampshire College. I highly recommend you go check it out. We also performed a whole building life cycle analysis. Our engineers did. And this is important because a lot of people are saying, well, why in the world? You just had an addition put up in 1990. Why are you going to take that down? You must be destroying the environment. Well, actually, the numbers show that here is the carbon use of the existing building. If we leave it alone and just repair it, as opposed to if we take it down and expand, so it means larger square footage, and operate it with these new systems, this is the carbon use over 60 years. Clearly, it makes sense if we do, as Amherst has proven, care about the environment, this is the way to go. New design considerations, I threw that in there because I just want to highlight the fact that our building is prepared for the next pandemic. The whole point is lots of flexibility, lots of spaces for patrons to be, so that they're not crammed in next to each other, and also up-to-date building systems. And what's next? Lots and lots of additional public presentations. The town council needs to approve the project this spring. And then once it's approved, we move into design development. We hire a general contractor. We do move into an interim location. Library services have to be maintained throughout the 2 years worth of construction. And then we do grand opening. That's it.
That was so wonderful and so exciting. There's so many things I want to touch on, but I know we're both trying to keep this short. So I will just say a few highlights. I guess maybe it's the marketing, but I always think of cheesy alliterations. But I heard resiliency, both climate-wise and in terms of potentially whatever the future holds post-pandemic. I heard renovation, but also restoration. I think that's important to note too. And preserving, but also even bringing back some historic elements. So I heard a lot of R's there. And then in terms of themes too, just accessibility, sustainability, increasing access. And if that doesn't say Amherst to me, and if I think the town, the chamber share those values. We're just really excited. So I know we could all talk for hours, even cross-laminated timber. That's a whole topic which we could talk.
It's true.
Forever about, and the role of Western Mass in that whole industry, and of UMass in that industry. But I think we will leave it there, and we will also refer people to the tons of resources you have online on your library, on your website, about the renovation and restoration project. So with that, I guess we will say thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing this with our audience. And any closing words?
No, just thank you so much for taking the time. It means a lot. Thank you.